Good morning, it's Tony D and Little Joan here with a hot take on the multiple levels of reality we're living in. I say multiple, a lot of people say, oh, we're living in two realities, and, that's true to a point. It's kind of like the election. Most people pick one tribe or the other, and a handful pick the alternatives. I think when it comes to the internet, we've been split kind of like that. The majority of the people pick sort of mainstream viewer reality, the curated internet version of reality, or the other reality of the internet, which is a mixture of lots of different things. And it's just, I talked about the atomization of audience in movies and television. We're seeing the atomization of really the entire United States in terms of, everybody's going to have their own version of what's real. Just like everybody has their own version of what's good to watch or what's good to, what's funny and what. I think it's part of the reason comedy is dying, because without that shared base of, culture, the comedians you can't tell a joke and expect a lot of people to laugh. You can only expect a portion of the room to laugh unless the audience is curated too. Like in Stephen Colbert's case or Trevor Noah's case, they have their audience in the room if they have it. Or Jimmy Kimmel, I should say. I think he has an audience again. And they want to laugh at him, and that's why they show up. Nothing wrong with that. But, if Jimmy had to take a show on the road, it would be a disaster. I don't think people in any of the red states would show up for the most part. I think it would, or you'd get a mix, like in places in Texas, you might get half and half, and then you'd get sort of a lukewarm reception to the jokes. Because how are you going to do jokes, for instance, about Donald Trump and how dishonest he is to a crowd that basically supports Trump and thinks he's all right? It's tough. The polarization has gotten that bad. I mean, I remember back in the 80s, I didn't like Reagan. I hated him. A lot of college kids did. And we're like, Reagan, what a tool. And but we could still kind of laugh at jokes that were political because we didn't have our own realities. I guess because, mostly it was filtered through television and we were frustrated, but we weren't completely disconnected. Now we have complete disconnect going all the way up the chain. And I think some politicians are exploiting that. Here's San Diego mayor, California closing playgrounds has no science behind it. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's no reason that Gavin Newsom should be closing the playgrounds in California. None. These kids are practically immune. It's outside. And California is warm in most places. There's no reason why he should close playgrounds. None. I mean, the chances of you getting sick with the beer virus in a playground and you're a little kid, it's next to nothing. Next to nothing. And quite frankly, if you have a little kid and he's been going to school and interacting with his friends and, having all sorts of interaction with kids who are sick, well, yeah, you shouldn't bring them to grandma's house and have them spread the germs. But if you're a 30-something-year-old parent who's also mostly immune, it's no big deal. It's not. And if you've ever been, I was a substitute teacher around kids all the time, and the kids were sick all the time. There was always a kid who was sick, especially during flu season. Teachers got sick all the time. They got sicker than the kids. The kids would, they would be sick but go to school and they'd be fine. Once in a while you had a kid who was just like, oh my God, why'd they send this kid to school? He'd be practically passing out. But most kids, they could be sick and they'll run around the playground and they're like, but it would be the teachers who would be in danger, and they would get sick all the time. myself included. You know, I got so sick when I was a substitute teacher. When I would get like the flu or something, I thought I was gonna die, and it would last 2 weeks. It wouldn't last like a few days. I'd be like out of commission for 2 weeks. So we already know the science behind viruses. You've got Newsom, who's just exploiting it because the Democrats have decided keep it locked down until Biden's is ensconced. And the strategy after that, well, if Biden's in, then at some point we'll lift the lockdowns and declare Biden an economic genius because everything will start to come back, they think. The other move might be to no, keep it locked down. We're doing a great reset. We're going to force communism on everybody. We're going to starve everybody out and then force them to accept handouts. Maybe. If Trump gets in, the plan is, keep the brake on to, fight Trump. It'll be like fight Trump some more. But, at least you'll have Trump in your corner going, unlock your state. And the pressure will eventually get the lockdowns lifted, I think. But right now, there's just not enough. There's too many Democrats who are sitting at home right now, especially in California, going, oh my God, he's right. We need to lock down the whole country for 100 days. If you're that stupid, you really ought to get online and learn about how viruses work. It's very simple. People get the virus. Sadly, older people with comorbidities sometimes die. There's a tinier slice of people who get some sort of permanent damage. It's not nothing. But we've been dealing with these viruses for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. This is just a new one. And in many years past, like in ancient times, viruses wouldn't get past a couple of tribes or a couple of ancient cities, right? Well, now, because of planes and how we're interconnected, it gets all over the world. So that's part of the difference. But the upside of that is you could have herd immunity, and basically most people will be immune. At least for the season. It'll be endemic like the flu. And you'll notice if you do some research that the flu is gone this year. They're pretending that it's completely gone. It's not. It would be impossible for the flu to disappear. They're counting the flu as beer virus. It's the only explanation. So all the cases we're seeing, a portion of them are the flu. They have to be. There's no other explanation. Where is the flu? Where is the scientific evidence to prove, now the flu doesn't exist? Where is it? No. The testing only test, apparently, for viruses. It apparently can't distinguish between the flu and COVID. They are very similar. Again, do some research. Gavin Newsom doesn't care about the research. This isn't about research. This isn't about doing what's scientifically possible. The Republican is calling him out because he can, and he's a Republican. Gavin hides behind the science and his lawyers. It's as simple as that. Until he's actually threatened with being removed from office, he has no reason to change his position. None. As long as you oppressed people in California sit there and not do anything, he has no reason to change his position. Matt Gaetz, is that how you say that? Gaetz hits back after New Jersey's Dem governor says he's not welcome in the state. Gaetz had some sort of meeting or party in Jersey City in a restaurant. He had no mask on. He had a bunch of people. And Phil Murphy's like, it's also beyond the pale that Representative Matt Gaetz would participate in this. What a fool. Matt, you're not welcome in New Jersey. And frankly, I don't ever want you back in this state. Well, you don't have that kind of authority, you jerk, Murphy. Matt Gaetz, you're gonna regret this tweet when you move to Florida like the rest of New Jersey. Yeah, I mean Murphy is just—he's just typical. Wow, he's got a lot of chicks at that party. Good for you, man. Wish I had gone there. Damn, some hot girls. Hot girls in that group. Wow. Um, Murphy is a fool. He doesn't care about the science either. I mean, he's locking his state back down. What Murphy though is trying to do, he's trying to straddle the two parties a little bit, and you have to give him some credit for that. On the one hand, it's sleazy as a politician because he can say to either side, he can say to the Dems, "Oh, I locked it down. I maybe not as hard as you, but I did." And he could say to the Republicans, if Trump wins, "Well, I tried not to lock it down too much." So he's got the best of both worlds. But as sleazy as that is, it opens the door to maybe negotiating with Murphy as opposed to Gretchen Whitmer, who just seems to be locked in her evil dark fortress and wants to burn down Michigan around her. Yeah, I mean, this kind of stuff is just political posturing. And Gaetz, he understands it's no big deal. He's a young guy. Murphy's a little older, but not that old, and but he's playing the game. He's playing the game. Oh, you're endangering everybody. That's the new game, Back in the day, it would have been, oh, you're a communist. You're a communist. Or, oh, you're hurting our children. You're hurting our children with these rap lyrics. They play these games. And Lynn Wood continues to battle down in Georgia. I continue to hope that Lynn Wood is for real. I think he is. But he is being proved more and more right about the two Georgian Republican candidates. They're not great. They're not great. I would still vote for him anyway, because Trump needs the Senate and Trump wants him. So that would be the only reason I would vote for him. Trump didn't go down to Georgia to campaign, I wouldn't even consider it. But so he calls out Gabriel Sterling, who is the Secretary of State of Georgia. I guess he's in front. He's in charge of the voting. I believe evidence is clear and convincing that Gabriel is a communist. Bam! Doesn't mince words on Twitter. I really look forward to this revelation. It's probably going to take a long time, but Georgia Secretary of State unlawfully changed election rules to allow mail ballots to be open 2 weeks before Election Day. For runoff, Brad changed it to 3 weeks. This is how they know pre-election day numbers in order to bake in the fraud in Dominion software to get the desired results. Yeah, I mean, that's everything we've learned about Dominion says that's the case. Dominion actually has a function in the software. Maybe this is Smartmatic. This is the Venezuelan version of it. That they would warn, as they were counting the votes, here's how much you're losing by. Now it's time to juice up the numbers. Makes sense. Makes sense, because otherwise you get 2016 and oh crap, Trump won. We fixed the vote, but we didn't fix it enough. They'll never let that happen again, apparently, unless Trump and Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell pull a rabbit out of their butts. But what can you do? What can you do? Well, here's some patriots that did some things. Breaking. Patriots surround Michigan courthouse to prevent Dominion machine wipe. Trump forensic team airborne to examine. Michigan counties were forced to buy Dominion machines paid for by Zuckerberg entity. I didn't hear that part of it, but so apparently there's a little mini protest going on. I hope this is true. I don't see any pictures of it, and I don't know this website very well, CD Media, but that would be something you could do. You could surround the courthouse and protest, essentially have a civil disobedience, and keep people from going in to touch the voting machines until the Trump guys get there. Now you got to be careful, because if the cops show up, or if they call the cops and then they push their way in, you know, it's you could get arrested. So, you know, don't do anything violent. Whatever you do, you know, link arms, do civil disobedience, but don't hurt anybody. Don't hurt anybody. But this would be a similar thing, could probably be done in Georgia. You know, protect the machines until the Trump team gets there. I'm not sure what the status is with the Trump team examining the machines in Georgia. I know that I guess in the Secretary of State, no, I guess it's in Michigan, she's trying to wipe it. In Georgia, they're probably trying to do the same thing, but they may have been stopped completely. But never hurts to have a little extra witnesses around with your cameras and your camera phones. So that's what patriots can do. I mean, and you can write. I'm telling you, write and call. Be polite, but write and call these people. They count it up. If enough people do it, they start to feel the pressure. They start to go, I'm going to lose the next election. I better come out with a statement. I mean, that's why Brian Kemp has called for a serious hand recount in Georgia. Now, they're going to drag their feet and try not to do it in time, but it seems to be happening. And finally, I was going to do this as a Hollywoke hot take, but it's just not, there's just not enough info here. But like Jamie Schumer has sort of picked her side, right? And, you know, she's tweeting like crazy, just like a lot of Hollywood people are. Oh, you gotta save us, save America, Georgia, save America from the Republicans. We need a one-party rule. She'll be fine. She is second cousin to Chuck Schumer, apparently. So, you know, it's all in the family. I don't blame her for, you know, when it's family, you kind of got to, like, let it slide. But she is very enthusiastic about this. I can't imagine her comedy career going anywhere after this. You know, in certain parts of the country. I guess you could play New York and L.A. and Chicago to your heart's content. I wouldn't count on many Trump supporters ever seeing you again. And, you know, at this point, it doesn't matter. I mean, after the whole Kavanaugh thing with her, you know, I would. She's yet another one of the many celebrities I would boycott and not give any of my money to. And it's not so much that they're untalented. It's just, you know, I liked Amy Schumer's sketch show for a while. And now that she's all political, she annoys me. And, you know, and I just don't want to give her my money. You know, she would really have to come up with an amazing piece of comedy for me to go, okay, I'll finally check it out. You know, it would have to be like, you know, glorified by every, you know, regular sort of comedian. And then I'd be reluctantly, well, let me check it out. But, you know, people sort of pick and choose their battles. She probably has her money anyway. She's made a few movies. She's had her TV show. She's, you know, she could do shows. She could still do stuff. She's on the list. So it's not like she'll be hurting for cash. It's all, you know, whether or not she's kind of, though, people on the right side of comedy, she's a bit of a punching bag, a bit of a joke, because, you know, she just gets made fun of for the kind of comedy she does. And you know, I personally, it's like, I think some of Amy's stuff was really funny in the beginning, but now, again, you know, like a lot of people, she's just sort of been ruined by politics. I'll never sort of be able to lift that image off of her. Whereas her ex-boyfriend, Anthony Jeselnik, I haven't heard him come out with political stuff at all. To me, he's like a true comedian, because his stuff is like, pretty nasty. But nasty in the good sort of comedic way. Same thing with like Daniel Tosh and a few others, like they're real comedians. Amy's sort of becoming an activist. She's sort of splitting her time between comedy and activism, and now it's like 90% activism. So that's fine. I mean, if that's what she wants to do, be an activist, Amy. Go ahead, get yourself, run for office. See how that works out. I think you'll find you're in over your head, but maybe with the new Democratic policy of rigging elections, if you're loyal enough, they'll give you something in the coming one-party system.